Right, hello. So hopefully I'm online. Excuse all the junk behind me. Earlier on, I was having to move all the DAC guns out the way because I realised if I was doing a webcam stream, then YouTube certainly wouldn't like the idea of there being deactivated guns, behind me. So all of them, in theory, other than the AT4, which I don't think the algorithm knows what that is, they're all out of frame. So I've got my giant cup of tea. As you can see, I've got 4 tea bags in there. Still going to be too hot to drink at the moment, so never mind. So yeah, I'm doing a webcam stream today rather than a game stream. One of the reasons is I bought a really cool thing that's kind of like an audio device thing, but I need to have it on charge before I can use it. And because I've disconnected all my other headphones to set up my new audio device, and now I've got on charge, I can't do anything where I have to listen to audio. Right, Richard? So yeah, I can't do anything where I actually have to put headphones in because although I could plug my headphones back in, the pain in the arse thing with this PC is, for whatever reason, with my front panel, although the USB sockets work fine in the front panel, the audio sockets in it don't work. So the rear panel connected to the motherboard works, but for whatever reason, those front panel sockets don't work. I don't know why. So if I plug it in, I have to reach all the way around the back of my PC and find the right slot. So it's one of those things where I don't do it very often, because at the moment I've got an extension, one of these plugged in, but I don't like to, constantly take them out, put them in, take them out, put them in kind of things, because it's a bit annoying. What it is, Rajiv, it's really cool. It's one of, right, Rich? It's one of those, I'd show it you if it wasn't on charge in the other room. I'm trying to remember the brand name. I'll look at my emails and I'll be able to tell you the brand name. But it's one of those haptic speakers you can wear across you like a belt. So you can have it like here, here, here. And when you get vibrations, it changes pitch of the sound, but it obviously vibrates through you. So it's just one of those things that makes gaming and like VR a lot more immersive. And it's quite fun just listening to music with it. I had a quick test of it, but obviously the battery, because they ship things with lithium batteries, pretty low on power. I was only able to test it for like 10 minutes. So the brand I bought, they've been advertising on Google a lot, and it came, I ordered it Monday, it came today with Royal Mail, like signed for, where they have to have like photo proof it's you kind of thing. They do a full-on vest as well, but that's quite expensive. So what I was hoping is that if I bought their basic model one, because it seems like they're one of those companies that, gets influencers to kind of review their products, I'm hoping if I do some videos on the basic one, they might say to me, oh, do you want our expensive vest for free? And then you can do some videos on it. I don't know if that would be the case, but I thought that would be worth trying that out. Is it called Woojer or something like that? Hang on, let me Google it. Yeah, Woojer. So Woojer. So what I got was like the one that's on the side. Hang on. Like the little bout one. Like, so not the big rig kind of vest looking thing, if my camera wants to focus, but like the one that's like a bout. So basically how it works is that you can either use it via Bluetooth, USB cable, or audio like 3.5 in. So you basically connect it to whatever device you're using. Then you plug your headphones either into it or connect your headphones to it via Bluetooth. And then you listen to music as normal, but when you've got that on, you've got obviously the thing that vibrates through you, and the vibration changes like a PlayStation 5's controller. The vibration's pitch-based, because PlayStation 5 controllers have haptic feedback, and that's really good. Yeah, it's that sort of thing, Rajiv, yeah. So obviously, that sort of thing, yeah. So, because that's the thing I really like with the vibration on the PlayStation 5 controller, is most games that support it have a thing where the pitch changes. So the vibration feels different depending on if it's meant to be a high pitch noise or like a low rumble, rather than it just being a standard on off vibrate, like most old controllers did. So yeah, in theory, I could actually use this with my PS5 as well. So I could have that on my PS5. I could have the vibration through the controller plus the vibration actually on me. But yeah, it should be really good for games and like films, immersion, like when you have a big explosion goes off, you actually feel it. And apparently deaf people like them, because even if you're deaf, you can still feel these. So even if, like you're 100% deaf, can't hear at all, not even with a hearing aid or anything like that, these sort of things are apparently quite good because you can at least get a feel for what's going on. Like where you get low or higher sort of frequency vibrations. So, it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, it'll be really good when I'm playing with a VR headset as well. Because like I said, that's an extra layer of immersion, obviously, when you've got the VR headset on, and then obviously when you're shooting a gun or whatever, you actually get a punch kind of through you, like the sound. Apparently, as well with the full-on vests, so like not like the one I've got, which is just like one big sort of bit you put on you where you want it on you. With the vests, where they've got some of the bits behind you and some of the bits in front. In the games and things that support them properly with surround sound, like when you get shot, you can actually work out the angle the bullet's coming from, depending on like which bit of it punches it like into you, sort of thing. Oh yeah, but it should be good, shouldn't it, with a home cinema when you've got it all sorted? Because yeah, I really like places where people have done that. I tried doing a home cinema setup. Again, it was really, at least you now can actually have wireless speakers, can't you? But when I did it, was with the wired speakers, and that became a pain in the arse eventually, trailing all the wires around and then trying to cover them with rugs so you wouldn't trip up. So Pyro says he has a size large M40 gas mask. Will it fit my head if I wear a size medium Pascal helmet? Should do. Obviously, bear in mind with helmets, it's that bit around your head they're measuring. With something like an M40, it's kind of that bit of your head they're measuring. But yes, a large M40 should fit you fine, I think, because you can tighten the straps. Generally, with gas masks, it's always better to go for a slightly bigger size than you need in the smaller size, because generally with bigger ones, if you tighten the straps enough, they'll still fit you and make a seal, whereas if the mask's too small, it's just not going to line up properly with your eyes and your mouth. Oh, and there's a gas mask video on today at 5 p.m. I filmed a gas mask video yesterday that's over 10 minutes long with my proper camcorder and everything, so the video quality is very good. And that's live today on 5 p.m. It's one on that Swedish civil defence mask. I was actually pretty impressed with it when I used it. It's just a shame you can't put modern filters on it. And what I've also ordered, because I have one of these somewhere, but I've lost it. I probably have a couple of these. I've ordered a little one of those Bluetooth connectors that you plug into a thing, and then you can plug you can connect these to a PC via Bluetooth, because these work absolutely fine on my PS5. I think technically these do actually have a Bluetooth receiver that I've got plugged into the PS5. I can't be asked to unplug that. Let's see if I can see it. Oh yeah, it's this thing. Hang on. Let me have a quick test and see if I can get this working on my PC just by plugging this in and doing that. In theory, yeah, but I wanted to get another additional one just for any of my other Bluetooth devices. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, they're working fine. Oh, that's good. Right, I'm not going to wear them now on the stream, but yeah. So I didn't actually need to buy the thing I bought, but I said it's always useful having some of those Bluetooth adapters. And I suppose the modern PCs, when I say modern, I mean ones that, like more and more the features come standard. They probably all have like Bluetooth receivers built into PCs now, don't they? Like network receivers. It should do Pyro. Again, bear in mind, some masks don't fit with some helmets, even like when the same militaries use them. So even like with the British gas masks, some of our helmets that were used at the same time as some of the masks don't fit very well. Yeah, mine doesn't. I'm tempted at some point, Rajiv, to get a new PC when I've got some spare money, but I won't be buying a new GPU. So that's like the most expensive bit of a PC at the moment. So my plan is to get, an entirely new, brand new PC with a better motherboard and all that sort of stuff on it, and then just put my current GPU into it. And that way, I don't think I'd be paying anywhere over $1,000 at all for a new PC if I did it that way, even if I got everything else top spec on it. I won't do it now because, like I said, I've still got all the bullshit with the car going on at the moment. But that's because my CPU is really good for when I got it. It was the top tier one you could actually buy when I bought it, but that was a few years ago now, so it's not that great. And I'd rather have I kind of like keeping old PCs with everything in them for the most part as like backups rather than completely cannibalizing them for parts. Yeah, my old headphones are wired headphones, but like I said, the problem is I'm going to be using my current wired headphones with that device I've got. So that means that I've now configured my PC's back thing for using the haptic feedback kind of thing. So yeah, I just want an easy way I can, Oh, and the cool thing as well with this, obviously, is that sometimes that might actually be better audio quality with the mic right next to my face when I'm doing stuff than the desk mic, because the desk mic is a higher quality microphone, but obviously that picks up more background noise. It's not as good for noise cancellation. That's good. Yeah, the main reason for mine, Rajiv, I just want a new PC. It's more just because there's a couple of components that are broken in this one, just due to age and stuff like that. So, and it's also just like, the sort of thing of just getting a new PC for the sake of it. Because like with this one, I still really like it, but again, like I said, the front pins don't work for the things. Ideally, I want to get one with a lot more USB slots on the front and things like that, just for future proofing. Because again, now so many devices use USB rather than jacks and things like that. I'm running into the issue in mine that I don't have enough USB sockets to have everything plugged in at once. And I know you can get USB extension leads, like, gang leads, but often you can't have too many devices on those at once without them, stopping devices working. Yeah, and also I'd kind of like one again with an SD card reader and all that built in, just so when I'm, editing videos, I can just literally take my SD card, plug it straight into the PC without using a USB adapter. Because I currently use the USB adapter. I use one of the, if it's in this drawer. Yeah, I currently use one of these with its little USB-C adapter on, so you can plug various things into it. But I kind of just like having something like this, as a socket on the motherboard kind of thing out the front of the case. Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you, Hype. Like I said, the stuff going on with my car is dragging on and on. I'll update you about that on Discord if you want an update regarding that. But yeah, that's dragging on and on. But otherwise, I'm all right. Yeah, I've got one of those as well, Rajiv, but I don't know where I've put it. Last time I used, so it's still got a bloody SD card in it. So because I couldn't find that after using that one time, I've unplugged that. Yeah, it should be getting resolved, but it's probably more likely at this stage I'm just going to have a full off payout for the car and have it, essentially written off. Even though, but again, I'll explain that at another time. But it's one of those things where the car should be easily repairable, but because of part shortages, it isn't. And that's the bit that's really bollocks in the sense that, you can have cars that are basically brand new, but if a certain part goes or gets damaged and there's not enough supply for the demand of parts, you can't have your car repaired. So at that, So yeah, but I'll explain it to people in more detail that I know properly, and all the things. But again, it's one of those things where if you were more of a car enthusiast, I'm sure you'd just take a payout for parts and labour, and then you just enjoy hunting down parts. But that's not me. I'd much rather just have a car at the moment. And the longer this drags on, the more and more frustrating it's getting. Of just I either want a working car or I want the fucking money for it. I don't want to be in this scenario of sitting around waiting for it to maybe get a part, sort of thing. But I'll Discord you about that, Hype, anyway, later on. But yeah, other than that, everything's all right. I'm really enjoying Remnant 2 still. I'm probably like 60 to 80 hours into it. I'm at the final boss, but because you can keep re-rolling stuff and keep your story progression after you get certain distance into the game, that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing a lot of the content in it before beating the last boss. And I know when you beat the last boss, you can still go back and do stuff, but you know what I mean. I'm sort of doing that with Remnant 2 at the moment. Let me check how many hours I've put into Remnant 2. Blasphemous 2 comes out next week, so I've got that pre-ordered, even though I don't pre-order games normally, but I really like Blasphemous 1. Right, so Remnant 2, I have 77.1 hours played at the moment. Obviously, bear in mind some of that time might be where I've left the game running when I've done other things, but I've definitely played a hell of a lot of Remnant 2. How many achievements have I got out of all the achievements? You've unlocked 36 of 50 achievements, which is 72%. And I've got one of those ones of only 8.4% of players have this achievement. Craft 15 weapon mods. Oh, okay. And then there's lots of achievements just for like getting loads of guns and everything. Oh, that's lucky you got it back. But yeah, that would have been expensive. SB, Mike has done a lot more. Weapon Collector's done a lot more videos than me. I've done like stab proof stuff before because that's very easy to do, stab proof and stab resistant, like kind of melee armor, or like just stuff you can wear, like that. But in terms of bulletproof stuff, obviously the problem is I have no way of testing it because even if I got ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, it's not like I'm an American YouTuber where I can just go out into a yard or a range, put it down range and see if it works. Oh yeah, Tumbo had some very good videos as well, didn't he? Right, Helmet Productions. Yeah, I've not taken mine anywhere close to 4 km out yet. I've only taken mine out sort of, a few hundred yards up, and then a few hundred yards away sort of thing. Sort of meters. But yeah, I want to take it further. But what I'm doing with mine is sort of getting used to using it at certain ranges, then getting more adventurous with it. Do you have an S6 gas mask? I do. Unfortunately, the front bit on it I need to replace. So there you go. There's my S6. I need to replace that bit because annoyingly, that needs all retaping and everything. That's what the S6 looks like without the little cover on the front. I'm pretty sure it's still completely airtight. It's just it doesn't have that little that's the voice diaphragm there, and then I think you've got the exhale valve goes around the outside of that bit, doesn't it? But yeah, there's my S6. That's just weirdly one that's been down there because I keep meaning to eventually tape the cover back on. I just don't get around to it. Yeah, the batteries run down surprisingly fast, though, don't they, on those drones? I've never actually tried it till I run the battery down. But yeah, I'm always amazed, sort of, when you give it a complete full charge, how quickly you just are. And I think it's also because time goes quite fast when you're playing with a drone. But you realise, oh, I'm down to like 80% battery or whatever. Ah, that's cool, Agent 47. Yeah, I know about playing PS1 games on the PS3. I used to do that a lot. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, mine only came in the satchel with the mask and 2 filters. Although what was interesting with mine is I think it was Baroque for Days was asking about it. I think it was just the canisters with mine were like one of the weirder canisters, as in it wasn't like the standard production canisters, if that makes sense. Like it was obviously 40mm NATO proper canisters, but I think it was whichever factory made them or whatever wasn't the standard production one. So it wasn't, like an Avon or whatever where, they all made filters that look the same. I actually had a rarer filter of mine. Although I did end up buying the cooler, more used filter because I actually prefer the visual look of the. Let me see if I can get you a picture of it up. I've got one of the filters somewhere. I don't know off the top of my head where I've got it, but there's the S6 filter I really like is that weird one that looks kind of like it's got a jigsaw going around the edge of it, which I think was the more common filter. This one. Okay, if I post an image of it in the chat. So yeah, my filter was like, more like a standard 40mm NATO one, but made in the UK. as in, you know, like circular hole in the middle of it sort of thing. But yeah. But yeah, that's the filter I've always liked the look of. So yeah, rather than having a hole in the middle of that filter, it's a bit weird. It's got like lots of very small holes along the edge of it where the perforations are. And then I think that then goes through into the middle and down. Why they did it like that, I don't know. I don't know if it extends the life of the filter or it just means, I suppose it means you can't block the filter as easily because there's lots of holes all around the filter. Yeah, I suppose it's because the S6 has those weird kind of big eyes, doesn't it, on it? Like the kind of alien-looking eyes, I guess, on it. There's also weird Turkish S6 rip-offs as well that are quite interesting. The coolest one, though, is the S8. Now, here's a picture of an S8 gas mask. It's a prototype, but this thing's really creepy. That's the S6, partway between the development of the S6 and the S10, where they started to put the like optical kind of flat-facing forward lenses on it, but then it's just like an S6 with really tiny lenses. Yeah, that would make sense, hype. Although I can't remember if the actual way they've done it is actually sensibly done like that inside. Oh yeah, survive to fight. I've never had any of those come with any of my bits of NBC equipment. I've been quite annoyed with that. Like I know you can buy them separately, but it's just kind of funny how they used to be like survive to fight things issued with loads of things. I suppose it's when a lot of stuff got surplus, they just took them out of the Yeah, they did. That's not what they've done, but I know what you mean. It's because it's got the front-looking optical lenses. But yeah, obviously, what ended up happening is with the S10, they ended up just doing like there's two flat bits like that on the S10 lenses, and then the diagonal bits are clear plastic, and that way you don't get the weird vision distortion because it's not a curved piece of plastic; it's one where it's just got harsh angles on it. Cheers, Rich. That would be useful for whoever was asking earlier. The bit everybody always keeps posting pictures of with the survive to fight's a bit about defecating in NBC equipment, like how to check that you're currently safe to roll your trousers down and take a shit, which is I always find quite funny in that. But that's the bit everybody always likes, you know, like out of context using the image for it. When you say Air Force C4 gas mask, do you mean the Canadian C4? If so, I might have the Canadian C4 in this room. Let me have a quick look. Because it's going to be buried under all this pile of stuff if I have got the C4 in this room. But I have got a C4 and I like the C4. Oh, I found my cursed gas mask. There's my worst ever gas mask. Yeah, I've been looking for that for ages and it was right bloody behind me. But yeah, I've got a Canadian C4 and I didn't see it that long ago. But where it now is, I don't know. But I like the Canadian C4. It's not in this pile down here, is it? Obviously. Yeah, that's the problem when you get so many masks, is that you never remember where you last put them, especially if you're like me and it's a case of sometimes you get them out to show them and then you put them where it's convenient to put them away. Yeah, it's like the Climax mask if the Climax mask was shit rich. Because the problem with the pewter one, as you probably know if you've seen all my videos on it, is it's basically, it could work, but they've made the rubber too soft, so it just kind of crushes in on you, and the straps are awful. Because obviously, if you have a mask with straps that are so bad that the mask won't stay on your face, that kind of makes the entire mask useless. Probably over 100 helmet productions. Oh, that sounds very cool, hype. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a video on that. I recently bought a load more batteries for my NNVT because I realised I didn't have enough of those little batteries it used, so I bought a load more and charged them up. So when friends come over and they actually want to see it, I can make sure I've got batteries charged and ready to go for it. Because the problem was last time when my mates came round, he was, only visiting for the day and only around for a couple of hours. And I realised that all my batteries are bloody discharged for it, and I couldn't show him the night vision. Oh, that's really cool if it's been export cleared, yeah. So more people actually might appreciate how good that is as a night vision unit. Oh, Pyro, bear in mind, when you make gas masks for industry and stuff like that, they're built to be just practical and straightforward, not to have any of the cool features on them. All right, Russelida. If you have 5 the page, like refresh the page, because normally you can see chat when you do that. Yeah, I'm still impressed by, if this had better filter designs on it, how good this would have been for like a mask from the 1950s. This will probably be my next gas mask video, by the way, on this thing. US Navy Mark V. SLR. I mean, the Lee Enfield is really classic, but obviously a semi-automatic rifle with a 20-round magazine as standard is better than a bolt action with a 10-round magazine. Is it? Let me have a look at the Metro 2033 artwork. Is the mask, you're right, there's definitely a mask that looks quite like that, but is it that exact mask, or is it just one they visually... Oh, bloody hell, you're right. Yeah, so I'd never realised that. It's not quite the same, because they've obviously tacticaled it a bit. But yes, you're right, that is the Metro 2033 gas mask, with that bit on it and that bit. The panoramic lens is actually a bit different, because the Metro one looks more ski-goggly, where this one's just got the big bit of flexi plastic. But yeah, and the weird old filter design where they're basically held on via rubber friction. See, that's the one where the rubber's broken on that side, so that's how they attach the mask. You've just got a metal rim on the mask there, and then the filters have like a rubber thing that just sort of goes over it. As you can see, that's starting to crack on this one as well. But, so it wasn't the best filter mounting mechanism, but it's actually quite a clever design. Yep, and that's the American naval mask. There you go, like we're saying. So, yeah, well done. I didn't even notice that at the time. But again, it's because I've not even seen the front cover for Metro 2033 in ages. Because you think with something like Metro, they'd have that, wouldn't you, on the cover? Oh, speaking of Metro, the guy that wrote the Metro books has been sent to Gulag by Putin for discrediting the Russian army, as in said bad things about the Ukraine war in Russia. Now gone to Gulag. Yeah, I think that's a cooler feel to Howard Productions. It's just apparently the one I came with, according to somebody that's really into British masks, is like one of those filters that are really hard to find. You know, they're not any better as actual filters. It's just, you know, in terms of like amount produced sort of design. Again, this is why Russia has a brain drain problem, because anybody with a brain over there inevitably gets purged if they open their mouths. Let me just see if I can find an article on it. So it's called he's called Dmitry Glukovsky, is he? Yeah, here we go. PC Gamer has a thing on it. Metro 2033 author Dmitry Glukovsky sentenced to 8 years in prison for criticizing Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And that's literally for posting messages on social media. So when you think the UK is bad for all the things of people getting in trouble for stuff on Twitter, remember, you could be in Russia. There you go. Yeah, some of the masks get changed in game as well, Militaria and stuff, because I specifically remember when I first played Metro 2033, there were British civilian duty gas masks in it. Yeah, when I played the Redux of it, none of the enemies had that mask on. I'm assuming it's because when they did the Redux version or whatever, they probably imported a load of models or something from Last Light or whatever, rather than redoing the original models. I'm sure I've done one Arcade Halla, but bear in mind, I can only do it with air rifles on this channel, unless I went to a proper range, and then they might not be very happy about me wearing a gas mask. And it depends on the gas mask, but for the most part, you just have to try and make the best cheek weld you can, because you obviously want to make sure you get a mask where the filter is not on the side you're shooting with. Yeah, I've done some videos. Hang on, let me search what they're called, because I did test some masks to see how good they were for cheek welding. And still seeing scopes as well as iron sights. Yeah, if you search on my channel, gas mask rifle scope test, there's some videos on there. But yeah, it's basically the best masks for iron sighting with and shooting with scopes, funnily enough, are like old Soviet masks like the Shums and those optical masks, because you can basically get the lens of the scope right to where it's flat on the gas mask. Which cheek filter mask do you know? Like an M17 style one or a Soviet PBF. Sometimes what you'll see people do where they're using those is you really have to twist your head and then canter the rifle to get around it, so it's not comfortable at all. So Polish MP4. So yeah, that's an M17 copy. So basically, you're going to have to twist your head to quite an angle, and then you're going to have to canter your rifle to get around that if you want to get a good sight picture. I wonder if I can find a picture of that. Polish NBC troops. But I've got a picture definitely in one of my books, like, which has like pictures of guys of NBC gear in it, where there is a guy like in a Polish soldier with an MP4 on and everything, shooting an AK, and his head is at a really weird angle. Let me search Polish gas mask soldier and see if I can find a picture. I'm finding a load with the standard, like, their version of the Shum 41 or whatever it was called. The one, is it the MUA? I can't remember, the one with the nice shiny like chrome on it rather than like brown steel. But yeah, in one of my books, there's a picture of a Polish soldier shooting an AK while wearing an MP4. And again, it doesn't look comfortable, the angle he's got his head and the, like, angle the rifle works at. Yeah, annoyingly, I can't find that picture easily on a Google image search. But yeah, I mean, that would be the way you do it today, would be adding risers and everything, like you say. So yeah, if you had an AR style rifle, get the rail and then just put a riser on it so you can get a scope where you want it. Yeah, cheek filter masks in general have a lot of problems. That's the issue with them. I can see why everybody went back to just 40mm or whatever. Yes, Pyro. Changing filters in cheek filter masks for the most part is horrible, because it's all about pulling rubber really hard to get it apart. With two people, it's a lot easier because you can have one person doing that of the rubber. It's like basically giving birth in reverse, putting cheek filters in. You're basically having to pull something really far open and then cram something in and get the angle quite right. Probably one of the buzzy Soviet ones, I'd say, Chris. So maybe the PMG or the PMK, any of those, because the ones that are lower quality, like voice diaphragms, are quite buzzy when you speak. So what's the technical name? Isn't there a fetish for that? Isn't it unberthing? So there you go, you're unberthing a gas mask filter. That's what you're doing. Fucking hell. But yeah. I can see why, like we were saying, although this is not the GSR, it's like the FRR, whatever it's called. I can understand why they went to a cheek filter system more like this one, with, the M50 and everything else, having the filters on the outside where you have a clip for them. So they're just basically the filters designed to look flush with the mask, but for the most part, yeah. Yeah, I find them interesting, helmet productions, but yes, there is a reason why they're not very practical. And again, that just comes down to, the fact that you've got a filter on both sides of the mask, and yeah, they're not easy to change. You can't have the advantage is you don't have to make a left and right-handed variant, but then the disadvantage is doing left and right-handed things is always a problem because you've still got a filter in the way on each side. Yeah, so we'll have to do a cesarean, Rich. You need to do cesarean cheek filters. Depends what is contaminated with Theo and how, like what the chemical is. Because it's a bit of a how long is a piece of string question. If it's only a very mild thing, and you've got quite a lot of clean air in proportion to the thing, the filters last quite a while, like 8 hours or whatever. The problem is if you have a really nasty chemical like lewisite or phosgene, and the area is completely saturated in it, your filter might last like 20 minutes. It depends on, clean air concentration to chemical and then what the chemical is. And Hype said, speaking of which, the FMVO9 10 miles all explicitly wants to get shiny filters as a virus, etc. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Like, again, I can understand it might have to happen in an emergency, but yeah, as much as there are like purging mask drills or changing filters, you probably don't want to risk it. But yeah, the one of my filters was quite interesting. I think it was the one that came on my Romanian M85, whatever it was called, or M84, whatever it was. The Romanian like M65 license copy. That actually had a filter that specified how long the filter lasted, like written on the side of the filter in different gases. What's under the blue thing? You mean the Ukrainian flag? That's not quite the. There's a hot water bottle there, but I don't think that's what you're asking about. That is a weird old British decimeter reader, where it has a little drawer you pull out. You put the watch decimeter in it. It looks a bit like a Fitbit kind of thing. It's a disc, and then when it's plugged in, the person with the unit can flick it on and take a reading of how much radiation the watch has absorbed. The reason they use these is because that way the soldier doesn't know what he's been exposed to. Again, when it comes to old decimeter type devices, these ones are kind of the cooler ones because you can just charge them up and then you can look through, into a light source and see what you've been exposed to. Unfortunately, these never work very well on camera. Oh, you can just about see it, although that one's not charged, so you won't see the needle. Yeah. The reason lots of armies stop using these ones is soldiers would basically be able to take legal action if they knew they had a certain radiation exposure. Whereas with things like this, no, you're fine, comrade. Supposedly that was a thing they did at Chernobyl, where when they handed out dosimeters to a lot of the people, like the liquidators, some of them would max out, even the ones you can look through at a certain reading, and some of the reading equipment for the dosimeters would actually display higher than what the dosimeter could, like the pen dosimeter. So what you'd have is basically you'd be exposed to like something like 300 Rontgen, and the guy would be like, "Oh, you've been exposed to 98 Rontgen, so we're going to take you off liquidator duty now, but don't worry, you're under your safe limit when you've been horribly contaminated," kind of thing. So yeah, again, you're treated like shit in basically most of the world's army, especially when it came to a radiation contamination. Unless you're actually the guy with the tools in the field who's taking the live readings, you're probably going to be lied to about the amount of radiation you've received. So it's always that sort of thing. Anyway, I won't be streaming for too much longer. What have I been on for, like 40 odd minutes? Swiss SM74. I'm sure I have a video on that if it's the one I'm thinking of. It wasn't that one. I've got the slightly older variant of it. Let me have a look. No, I've not reviewed the Swiss SM74, but I reviewed, was it like the 71 or the 69? Let me just take out the 74 bit, because I reviewed the one that was like the generation before that one. SM67. Was it that one? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the Swiss SM67, the one I did a video on, which is basically the exact same mask. It just doesn't have the little bit on the front, if you like. It's got like an actual big bulky nose bit. Yeah, so if I remember right, the 74 is the one I don't have, but I have the I know I've got it because there's a YouTube thumbnail popping up with me in it of the SM67. But as far as I'm aware, the mask construction is identical, except for the fact that, you know, the it doesn't have that little voice diaphragm, whatever it is with the nose. A globe mug is all right, Andy. It's a Nemesis mug from Alton Towers, whatever it was, where it's also horribly discoloured now because of the amount of times it's been washed and cleaned. It's one of those ones that's meant to change colour when you've got hot liquid in it, where the fire appears, and I think that disappears in theory. And it's a cup of tea with 4 tea bags in it. Andy, because you're the night vision guy, Hype was saying that the Chinese are soon going to actually be exporting the NNVT night vision units. So that's the cool thing, that in theory, although they might be expensive, they'll actually be like the Chinese Gen 2 Plus night vision units turning up reliably rather than somebody essentially smuggling them out. So that'll be cool. Yeah, 40mm DIN and 40mm NATO are pretty much the same thing. If I remember right, DIN was the old name for it, and then when it became the NATO standard, it just got called Stanag, 40mm Stanag NATO. But every mask I've ever had that's been like an old DIN one, the filters seem to work both ways round interchangeably. It's not like GOST and NATO. I know, JJ, but this is a Gen 2 Plus, so it is worth a damn. Like I said, I've got one and I really like it. But yeah, obviously Gen 2 and Gen 2 Plus night visions are pretty damn good. Which one's that? Let me have a look. But yeah, I'm mostly used to Milsurp type night vision, not like privately made ones. Oh, is that the actual individual image intensifier tube rather than it being Oh, I see. So it's what they use in the PSV 14. Yeah, that's $3,000 for one of those for sale. So yeah, I'm happy with my NNVT. But yeah, like I said, the NNVT is, at least for me in person, is my favorite night vision I've used so far. Even when I've had access, when I borrowed a couple of Gen 3s from people, I really like that Gen 2 Plus. I think it's mostly because it's so good at quickly, minimizing the brightness if you look at a bright light. I bought it from Hype a while ago, and I can't remember, even if I wanted to tell you, I can't remember how much I paid him for it now. He's still in the chat, but yeah, it's got a blemish on it, so it's basically like a factory reject tube, but the light amplification, everything works fine. It's just got like a little blemish on part of the thing, but that doesn't really bother me because you don't actually notice it when you're actually using it and looking around with it. It's only when you're looking at like a white wall or something, you'll notice where the blemish is. But yeah, it's kind of cool if they're actually going to end up on the export market now. Like I said, I won't be on too much longer just because I have been on already for 45 minutes or so. And I have done 8,646 steps today. So what's that in miles? Oh, 4.19 miles. So I'll definitely hit 10,000 steps before the end of the day. Probably was, but again, I can't remember, JJ. I know it was a lot of money, but again, in terms of night vision amounts, I can't remember if it was a lot. It was reasonable for me because again, I wouldn't really spend that sort of money on night vision. If I had a much bigger income or I had a lot more disposable income, I would spend money like that. Oh, so that's good. So yeah, so if it ends up being £1,300 for basically the factory standard one, hopefully that means like second-hand ones might start turning up as well. You can just move with deactivated guns. I suppose do you mean if you move to a different country, then it's completely down to the laws of the country? I bet the price will be inflated quite a lot if the tubes are just imported and then put in different housing, though. What was it you said about 3D printed, Andy? The previous comment you said was cool, so YouTube might have deleted the comment. When you move house, you just take them with you. put them in a carry bag. Don't wave them at people. You can just do that. There's nothing stopping you taking them anywhere because they're UK legal. Especially DIACs, they're not considered guns. You know, the only time you'll get in trouble with a DIAC is if you wave it around the people in the street. A DIAC is basically just an imitation firearm because it's deactivated. Even my obsolete calibers aren't considered guns by law, so you don't have any of the paperwork problems you'd have with a registered firearm, like you know, a shotgun or a Section 1. Oh, that's cool. Let me try and visit your channel now if I can do. Which they don't let you bloody do anymore as a channel owner, which is really annoying. So I can't just click on your name and go to your channel. That's annoying. Yeah, when digital night vision gets to the point where it can actually compete with Gen 2s properly and it's, you know, affordable, that'd be really good. Because again, I have got, like, on eBay now, you can, if you're using an IR light, get some pretty good cheap digital night visions. They're getting cheaper and cheaper, I'd agree. Because I think it's just because of, like, security camera IR sort of sensitivity, isn't it? That they're basically just getting recycled into night vision from security cameras, if you like. But because they're getting better and better, it actually means you've got kind of a night vision market for it. Those are definitely good for people who don't want to spend money on night vision and just want to get something they can use in the dark with an IR, like torch. Okay, let me search that now, and then I can actually find that. Yeah, because that's saying yeah, I found it. Thank you. Let me bookmark that. I mean, actually bookmark it rather than just favoriting on YouTube where it'll get buried. Because one of my friends has a 3D printer, and he's always said to me that, you know, I can send him 3D printed stuff and he'll print it for me. So that's quite good. I can't remember if I've said, but the video I'm going to be doing at some point, because he's making me one. He made one for himself, and he's going to make me one and post it to me at some point. Is he made one of those fake cobalt pencils? Well, as in like the real cobalt pencil, but it's 3D printed, so it's not a real cobalt pencil. But you know, the one that say drop and run on it, like CO60, you know, warning radiation, drop and run. One of those like cobalt pencils that be in a radiotherapy machine. And he's made it to have a screw-on cap. So what I can do is I can open it up, put another radiation source inside it, close it up, and then you know, for the sake of people who don't know about the sort of readings you get, go, oh no, it's making my Geiger counter click. Look. But yeah, obviously it won't be a real bit of cobalt 60. It's just literally going to be an empty plastic tube made to look like the CO60 pencils. I know what you mean, Justin. But also the advantage is with digital that you can record through it easily. My favourite gas mask out of all of them I have, in terms of how much I like it, the CT12, but I've been saying that for years. In terms of practicality, I'm almost maybe going to say this thing. As much as this isn't like an actual military mask or anything, this Spaziani is really good. It's comfortable, makes a very good seal, has an amazing field of view. The Russian Zelensky Mag 9 is also very similar to this. Like, in general, for my personal use, I like panoramic masks like this, where nearly the entire front bit's a panoramic lens. You know, you then combine that with it being made out of like a strong polycarbonate or whatever. Have a filter there where it doesn't get in the way when you're shouldering a rifle. And you've got all-round good vision, you know, especially when you get these really comfortable straps on them. How many deactivated weapons do I have? Loads. Sadly, I can't show them on stream because that gets me a strike of YouTube. 2 deactivated proper AKs, a deactivated Galil, that deactivated Yugo MP40 SMG thing, 2 deactivated M1 carbines. One's a real M1 carbine, one's kind of like the sporting copy of an M1 carbine. Deactivated Lee Enfield, deactivated FAL, deactivated Scorpion, deactivated Polish PM63 rack. A lot off the top of my, like, that's from Sturmgewehr 57 deac. I've got a lot. You just have to look through all my videos of them. But yeah, that's the issue, is just trying to remember all of them. Oh, Carcano I've got as well. Bren gun. My obsolete calibers are easier to tell you about. If I remember right, I've got I can see two of them in this room. I've got the the really nice Swiss one, the Schmidt Reuben, the Mannlicher. So I've got two 1890 era sort of bolt actions, and they're live because they're obsolete caliber ammunition. The Martini Henry, which may or may not be in a good shootable condition, due to age and wear on parts. A deactivated old musket I still need to get around, not deactivated, obsolete, sorry, old musket I still need to get around to doing a video on, but because I took the trigger assembly apart to clean it, I've yet to reassemble all the mechanisms and then do a video on it. And two obsolete caliber pinfire revolvers. So pinfire revolvers are really weird. They're it's where an old style cartridge had the firing pin built into the cartridge itself. But yeah, pinfire revolvers are tiny. I'm going to be careful how I hold this up so I don't get a strike from YouTube. But if I hold it like that, you'll see that, look at the grip. These are tiny pinfires. I won't hold it up any longer than that. But yeah, pinfires are kind of like Derringer-sized little revolvers. Again, they'd still kill you if you were shot by them. I think they were literally pocket defense pistols. But compared to modern revolvers, pinfires are tiny. Cheers, Corona Survivor. Yeah, I really need to get round to doing that, Andy, especially if we did one of, like you're saying, Fallout, after an atomic war. Because I've got a couple of empty military backpacks I've been planning on using for videos like that, and I never get around to doing the videos. The problem is, at the moment, I've got a massive backlog of stuff I want to do, but the good thing, at least, is there's less days I'm working per week now, at the moment. So, in the sense that I'm earning enough money, but, I'm not needed as many days of the week, which is actually good for me, because it means I can get around to the backlog. The issue I had for a while was I was buying stuff when I was working, 6 to 7 days a week. And then I just wasn't getting the time to do videos on stuff. So I've got this big backlog of all the content I want to get around to filming. And just haven't got. So now and again, I'll always get people that will come on the videos and live streams and say, have you done this video yet? And I'll say, no, I do remember you've mentioned about doing it. I just haven't done a video on it. But anyway, have a good day, everybody. I'll be off now. I've been on for 50 odd minutes. So it's been actually a decent length stream. So thanks for coming on. There's a video on tonight at 5 p.m. on that Swedish civil defense mask, which is actually a lot better than I thought it would be. Just a shame with that mask is you can't put modern filters on it because it has a really weird filter design. But the old filter still works. Surprisingly, that was on it. Right, so see everybody, have a good day. And don't forget, if you want a gas mask video, there is one that goes on today if you don't get notified.